The new 5-star polearm Fang of the Mountain King is Kinnich's signature weapon and will be featured in the upcoming weapon banner. So let's talk about it. Now, this weapon has an insanely high base attack of 741, which is currently the highest for a 5-star weapon, and it will significantly increase the overall attack for the character equipping this weapon, so it'll be amazing for characters whose damage scales with attack. It also provides 11% crit rate, which is not a lot, but since it's already providing a crazy amount of base attack, you can give this weapon to characters who need more attack than crit rate, like characters who get crit rate from their Ascension passive, or when the character already has a decent amount of crit rate and they only need a little bit more crit rate to have a good crit ratio. In such scenarios, this weapon will be a good option. Now when it comes to its passive, when the wielder hits an opponent with an elemental skill, they gain 1 stack of Canopy's favor, which can be triggered once every 0.5 seconds. And when a nearby party member triggers a burning or burgeon reaction, the wielder will gain 3 stacks of Canopy's favor. This effect can be triggered once every 2 seconds, and can be triggered even when the triggering party member is off-field. Each stack of Canopy's favor increases the elemental skill and elemental burst damage by 10% for 6 seconds. This can have a maximum of 6 stacks, leading to a total of 60% increase in elemental skill and elemental burst damage. However, each stack is counted independently, and each stack is gonna last for only 6 seconds, which means it'll be hard for the wielder to get the maximum number of stacks by just relying on their elemental skill because of the elemental skill cooldown. But it's much easier for Kinnich to gain 6 stacks by just using his elemental skill, as after Kinnich uses his elemental skill, he grapples onto the enemies and enters the Nisal's blessing state, during which the damage dealt by his normal attacks is considered to be an elemental skill damage, which means that hitting an opponent with a normal attack during this state will grant him 1 stack of Canopy's favor, as it'll count as an elemental skill damage. But even though he can get the maximum number of stacks by just using his elemental skill, it'd be still better to use him in a burning or burgeon team comp so that he can accumulate stacks more quickly and easily, which will help him in maintaining the maximum number of stacks for a longer duration. Also, his kit is optimized for use in burning or burgeon team compositions, so it'll always be better to use him in those teams. Now apart from Kinnich, you can use this weapon on anyone who deals a ton of damage from their elemental skill and elemental burst, as long as you're using them in a burning or burgeon team comps. But avoid using it on an electro character because the electro element will interfere with burning and burgeon reaction and will make it difficult for the wielder to gain stacks through it. So the characters who can utilize this weapon properly are Navia, Freminate, D-Luke, DPS Dihya, Sub-DPS Shonyan, Sub-DPS Sayu, and even Ito and DPS Noel, as the whole point of stacking defense on them is because they gain attack bonus based on defense when they use their burst. So ultimately, their damage scales with attack, which means it's not a bad weapon for them. The only limitation of this weapon is that the wielder needs to be a part of burning or burgeon team comps. But since the wielder doesn't necessarily have to be the one triggering those reactions, this weapon can be used on a lot of characters and is overall a pretty good weapon. Let me know if you've any doubts in the comments, and I'll see you guys in my next video. See ya!